I would rather deal with things rather than just move forward. I'm not not so much interested in running forward. If there are some unresolved issues which is not letting you to sleep, I'm more concerned with your sleep. Okay, so anyway, we have one more week with us, so you can anytime bring up any point.
Thank you.
Chapter 12, creation of Kumaras and others. So now that the Prakrita and Vaikrita creation has been described to somewhat in detail, and also the measurement of time and history of those people who live beyond one day of Brahma, these things have been discussed. Now they want to go back to this continuous description of creation, that what is happening, because we took a small detour and then we went into description of time. Otherwise, if you see, from starting from chapter 5, the flow of subject matter is how creation is happening. If you start from chapter 5, if you see that Vidura has asked some questions about creation, and those questions are being answered, but in between, in chapter 10 and 11, we took a small detour, but the detour is also part of Vidura's questions, so therefore it was a legitimate detour, but we did take a detour from the flow of the subject matter, which is continuous description of how creation is happening. So now that is going to continue. Iti devan nitashatta kalakya paramatmanaha mahima vedagarbhota yatarakshin nibodave. So please read translation.
Shri Maitreya said, Holy and Vidur, so far I have explained to you the glories of the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his feature of color. Now you can hear from me about the creation of Brahma, the reservoir of all Vedic knowledge.
Yeah. So what did Brahma create first? Okay, please, next.
Brahma first created the nescience engagement like self-deception, the sense of death, anger after frustration, the sense of false ownership, and the illusionary bodily conception or forgetfulness of one's real identity.
So Brahma created nice things first. Sasagre anda tamishram atah tamishram adikrit mahamoham cha moham cha tamasas chanya vrittayaha. So we will see anda tamishram is the sense of death. Tamishram means anger upon frustration. Then mahamoha means ownership of enjoyable objects. Moham means illusory conception that I am this body. Tamaha, darkness of self-knowledge. And these are ajnana vrittyaha. Ajnana vrittyaha means that the life, that lifestyle which expands based on ignorance. Vritti means lifestyle, which expands based on ignorance. This is ajnana vritti, which is lifestyle which is expanding based on ignorance. What is required for that? First of all, a sense of death has to be created, because the soul is not dying. Najayate briyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha ajo nitya shashvato ayam purano nahanyate anyamane sharire. The soul doesn't die. We know this very well from Bhagavad Gita. But the sense of death has to be created. And then anger upon frustration, then the sense of ownership of objects, then the illusory conception that I am the body, and self-knowledge in darkness means that knowledge about the body and knowledge about the matter which is considered as real knowledge. That knowledge is considered knowledge in darkness. Like our modern education and modern scientists, they are very much concerned about knowledge about matter, because they think that matter is what is there. Matter is what is everything. So therefore, They are very much concerned about acquiring knowledge about matter, considering that knowledge about matter is supreme. So this is called darkness in self-knowledge. It's called darkness in self-knowledge because of the misidentification of the self. Then we focus too much on matter. We focus too much on body. Like every teeth has a specialist.
Yes.
In dentistry, every teeth has a specialist. There's a molar specialist, there's a canine specialist, there's a front teeth specialist, there is a dentist who is specialized in children teeth, there is dentist who is specialized in old people teeth, implantologist, orthodontist, prosthodontist, dentist, so many tests only for teeth. So much of study on the teeth. So the point is that there is so much emphasis on body. There is zero emphasis on spirit soul. So Prabhupada asked, where is the university which is teaching about the spirit soul? So then next.
Seeing such a misleading creation as a sinful task, Brahma did not feel much pleasure in his activity. Therefore, he purified himself by meditation on the personality of Godhead. Then he began another term of creation.
Yeah, so he was not very happy that he had to do all these nonsense things. So he prayed to the Lord and then he made one more term of creation. And this time he created very nice things. What is that? Please read.
In the beginning, Brahma created 4 great sages named Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar. All of them were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semens flowing upward.
Yeah, they were Urdhvaretasaha. We find this term frequently coming in Srimad Bhagavatam because there is a yogic process by which the semen can be raised upwards. And when the semen is raised upwards by the yogic process and when the semen reaches the brain substance, then really a person can utilize the power of the semen very, very powerfully to control the body, to control the mind, and to control everything. Because semen is also called as virya. It's called virya. So it can be used to control everything and spiritually advance very much. When semen, the same semen, when it discharged down, it becomes the reason for death. When it is discharged down, it becomes the reason for death. But when it is moved upwards, then it is very, very powerful. So then these 4 Kumaras, Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana and Sanat Kumar, they become in charge of the 4 schools of knowledge. But what is Brahma's... okay, let's read Brahma, what Brahma has to say to them. Okay, please read.
Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. But due to their being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aimed at liberation, and therefore they expressed their unwillingness.
They said, no, we are not interested. We are not interested in getting married, generating progeny. We would like to be children. We would eternally like to be children. So then what Brahma will do? Can't do anything. Okay, next please read.
On the refusal of the son to obey the order of their father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control and not to express.
He tried because he was very angry because Brahma's task is to see that the planets are filled. So he wants progeny. But the 4 Kumaras are telling that no, we will not develop progeny. So he became very angry, but he didn't want to express his anger because he is Brahma, he had to control his anger. But what happened to that anger? Okay, please read.
On the refusal of the son to obey, although he tried to curb his anger, it came out from between his eyebrow. And a child of mixed blue and red was immediately generated.
Okay, please read.
After his birth, he began to cry, "Oh, destiny maker, teacher of the universe, kindly designate my name and place."
Yeah, so like any child, he is also crying. He is saying that, please make my name and place. Okay.
The all-powerful Brahma, who was born from the lotus flower, pacified the boy with gentle words, accepting his request, and said, "Do not cry, I shall certainly do as you desire."
Okay, next.
Thereafter Brahma said, O chief of the demigods, you shall be called by the name Rudra by all people because you have so anxiously cried.
Yeah, so Rud means to cry. Because he came out crying, so he was called as Rudra. He was called as Rudra, the one who cries. Okay.
My dear boy, I have already selected the following places for your residence: the heart, the senses, the air of life, the sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, and austerity.
Yeah, so these are all places where the principle of Rudra can be exhibited. Of course, when we read the purport, we'll read all those things. Okay.
Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Rudra, you have 11 other names: Manu, Manu, Mahinasha, Mahinasa, Mahan, Shiva, Rata, Havaja, Agradeta, Bhavakala, Vamanadeva, and
But Vamadeva.
Vamadeva, Dhritarvrata,
Yeah,
and
so,
Dhritarvrata.
yes.
Any knowledge about the meaning of the different names of Rudra?
I know Shiva means auspicious, I think everybody knows that. So,
Ritadvija is Shiva, no?
yeah. Ugrarata means one whose semen is very powerful.
Okay.
Dridavrata means one whose vows are very determined. Manu means one who is angry. Manu means he is one who has many progeny. Mahinasa, I don't know. Ritadvaja looks like some sort of flag. I don't know, he has some flag. Okay.
O Rudra, you also have 11 wives called the Rudra Rani. And they are as follows: Dehi, Dirti, Rasa, Uma.
Rudrani.
Rudrani.
You say Rudra.
Rudrani.
It's okay.
Rudrani.
Rudra's Rani.
Rudrani.
Rudrani.
Rudrani. Rudrani. I have pronounced in Tamil.
It's okay.
Thursday, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Soja, and Diksha.
Yeah, okay, so then he has 11 wives, he has 11 names, and he has 11 wives. So each wife for one name. Yeah.
Those wives are already there, or they are to come in the future?
No, he already gave them the wives. Means that he produced those wives, Brahma produced those wives and gave them.
Because before he says, I give you the moon, I give you the sun.
No, he is saying that these are his resting places.
So okay.
So sun, moon and all is going to come. He knows already all these things are going to come. So those are the places where he can rest. And this is wives. He gave them so many wives. So he only created those wives and gave them. Brahma created Rudra's wives and gave them.
So I was thinking Rudra one main wife who she takes regularly incarnation like Sati and so on.
Yeah. She is Sati, she is Ambika.
Uma.
Okay.
She's the
But all of them are simply expansions of Durga. All these names are just expansions of Durga. That's like Shiva himself, like Rudra himself is an expansion of Shiva. So all these ladies, they are just expansions of Durga. Okay.
The principle of sex is created by this, no?
No.
Just wives produce.
Yeah.
Jai Jagadish.
Read with the next person.
My dear boy, you may now accept all the names and places designated for you and your different wives. And since you are now one of the masters of the living entities, you may increase the population on a large scale.
Very good.
Very good.
So he has many wives and he can increase population. Okay, please read.
The most powerful Rudra, whose bodily color was blue mixed with red, created many offspring, exactly resembling him in features, strength, and furious nature.
Okay. Yes.
So we understand that they go somewhere in the universe. There are already many planets.
Yeah,
So Brahma already created planets.
yes,
And each planet means also personality.
yes,
So there were personalities before the Kumaras and so on.
yes, yes.
But we don't hear about them. Who are there? Like some each planet is represented by a devata or some personality. No?
Yeah, but we don't hear so much about those personalities and those because Bhagavatam is not concerned with them. Even with Kumaras, Bhagavatam is very much only concerned with one small portion with Kumaras. We only hear them twice. Once we hear them, we hear about them thrice. Once we hear them when they actually go and read Bhagavatam with Sankarsana. The next time we are hearing them is now. Then in the next unit we'll hear about them. And also we'll hear about them with Prithu Maharaj's unit. So they will come and talk to Prithu Maharaj. So we only hear about them very less. Even though they have their own pastimes and they do so many things. These are all distributed, written in different Puranas. But Bhagavatam does not concern with all those information.
Should we consider that there is already some devatas before them?
No. Basically, Brahma created Kumaras first. Okay. Then he created many of them. But all of them are not explained in Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam limits its explanation to some of them. Bhagavatam does not deal with everybody whom Brahma
The
created.
sun and the moon is not created yet.
It will be created. Eventually it will be created.
Because in few verses, Brahma will say to Rudra, then go to the forest. So I assume that there is already immobile living entities there.
Yeah, then forest is there.
So he has already created, populated somehow.
Whether he populated or he just created the landscape, we don't know. But at least we know that there is forest because he says go to forest.
Yeah.
So then there has to be forest. Okay.
The sons and grandsons generated by Rudra are unlimited in number, and when they assemble together, they attempt to devour the entire universe. When Brahma, the father of the living entity, saw this, he became afraid of the situation.
Okay. Next.
Brahma told Rudra, O best among the demigods, there is no need for you to generate living entities of this nature. They have begun to devastate everything on all sides with the fiery flames from their eyes, and they have even attacked me.
Next.
My dear son, you had better situate yourself in penance, which is auspicious for all living entities and which will bring all benediction upon you. By penance only shall you be able to create the universe as it was before.
Okay, next.
By penance only can one even approach the personality of Godhead, who is within the heart of every living entity and at the same time beyond the reach of all senses.
Okay, next.
Sri Maitreya said, those Rudra, having been ordered by Brahma, circumvented his father and master of the Vedas, addressing him with a word of assent, he entered the forest to perform austere penance.
So we can see from these descriptions that even though Brahma did so much austerity and Brahma got the Lord's favor and then again he did austerity, but still his service was not without problem. Brahma started his service, starting itself is a problem. That he made the 4 Kumaras and Kumaras don't want to make progeny. Then he made Rudra. Rudra is very interested in making progeny. But Brahma doesn't want that progeny because he is making progeny which will destroy everything. This is the beginning of creation. In the beginning of creation there cannot be destruction. So we should not complain that in our services we are having problem. The topmost person, Brahma, when he started his service only he had problem. And his GBC was the Lord himself. Okay. So it is very naive to expect that we will be in ISKCON and will not face any problem. very naive to expect that. We have to understand that when we take up some responsible service, there will always be challenge, there will always be problem. It's not going to be easy, smooth. People will be very challenging. People will not listen to us. And just because they don't listen to us, it doesn't mean that they are bad. Like the Kumaras did not listen to Brahma, it doesn't mean Kumaras are lousy guys. It doesn't mean like that. They are exalted people. And they have their own respect. And they have their own mission. And there will be people who want to listen to us, but they may not fully fulfill our purpose. They may listen to us and they may do something which will actually spoil our purpose. So we cannot get angry with them. So everybody has to be engaged properly and nicely. Like Brahma is engaging everyone properly and nicely. Everybody has to be engaged properly and nicely. And we should not think that, oh, now I have joined ISKCON, I am in a spiritual movement, so there will be absolutely no problem, everything will be like Vaikuntha. We should not think like that. As long as we are in the material world, and as long we have the material body, and as long as we are struggling with our own senses, everybody is going to face problem. But the solution is to actually cooperate and then intelligently move forward the mission, just like Brahma is doing. He is trying his best to engage everyone and trying to move the mission forward. So it's very instructive how Brahma started his managerial responsibility, post as manager, and what he went through is very, very instructive. First of all, he created something which he did not like. Sometimes we may do services which we don't like. But he had to do it because there was no other option. There was nobody to delegate to. He can't say, okay, I don't like creating all this Andhra Tamishram, Mahamoham, Moham, this is all lousy job, I don't like it, so let somebody else do it. No, he can't do, because there's nobody else to do, he only has to do. So sometimes we may take up services which we don't like, but still we need to do because that's what is expected out of us. So Brahma is a great example of a dedicated servant of the Krishna conscious movement. And how Brahma acts and what challenges he faces, these are all very instructive to us in our day-to-day life. So we can be very happy that only we are not facing problem, Brahma is also facing problem. Okay, so we have to read purport number 1. Please read purport number 1.
No, that's not no.
No, not purport number 2. Sorry, 2.
Before the factual creation of the living entities in different varieties of species, the conditions under which a living being in the material world has to live were created by Brahma. Unless a living entity forgets his real identity, it is impossible for him to live in the material condition of life. Therefore, the first condition of material existence is forgetfulness of one's real identity. And by forgetting one's real identity, one is sure to be afraid of death. Although a pure living soul is deathless and birthless, this false identification with material nature is the cause of false ownership of things, which are offered by the arrangement of superior control. All material resources are offered to the living entity for his peaceful living and for the discharge of the duties of self-realization in conditioned life. But due to false identification, the conditioned soul becomes entrapped by the sense of false ownership of the property of the Supreme Lord. It is evident from this verse that Brahma himself is a creation of the Supreme Lord, and the 5 kinds of nescience which condition the living entities in material existence are creation of Brahma. It is simply ludicrous to think that living entities to be equal with the Supreme Being when one can understand that the conditioned souls are under the influence of Brahma's magic wand. Patanjali also accepts that there are 5 kinds of nescience as mentioned here.
Yeah. So these 5 different kinds of nescience is the basis of material existence. So therefore Brahma actually created the sense of death, the sense of proprietorship, the false identification with the body, and anger, which comes out of frustration. These are all alien to the spirit soul. Spirit soul has got nothing to do with these feelings, because the spirit soul has identified himself with matter. Therefore, these things are relevant to the spirit soul. Otherwise, spirit soul has got nothing to do with these things. Okay. Please read.
The Lord naturally does not like to see anyone falling down from his real position. Persons who do not care for the path of realization get full facilities from the Lord for executing their proclivities to the fullest extent, and Brahma helps in that procedure without fail.
Yeah. So if someone does not want self-realization, he simply wants to try to lord it over this material universe, then Brahma actually makes all these 5 kinds of nescience, especially for them, so that they can actually utilize this facility completely and try to compete for enjoyment. But the moment that they want to turn towards self-realization, then there is also complete facility to actually get self-realized and go back home, back to Godhead. So both the facilities are there. Okay. Please read.
Sankhya.
Thank you.
No problem, I will read. Sankhya, the empirical philosophy for analytical study of material conditions. Yoga, or mysticism for liberation of the pure soul from material bondage. Vairagya, the acceptance of the complete detachment from material enjoyment in life to elevate oneself to the highest spiritual understanding. Tapas, or the various kinds of voluntary austerities performed for spiritual perfection. So the 4 Kumaras, they actually represent this 4 branches of religion. Sankhya, Yoga, Vairagya and Tapa. So these four branches of religion, it forms the 4 aspects of jnana, which were created in conjunction with the creation of Kumaras. Because the Kumaras represented this 4 aspects of gaining knowledge. They were jnanis, we know that. So they were interested in these 4 aspects of gaining knowledge. So along with them, these 4 aspects of knowledge was also created. Okay.
Thus, there was nothing wrong in the act of the Kumaras when they refused their great father's request that they become family men.
Yeah, so this is one request which can be legitimately refused by a son from a father or from Guru, because otherwise the son is bound to follow the order of the father according to Vedic system. According to Vedic system, the order of the father cannot be neglected for the son. It has to be followed. But even in that, there is this exception that the son can refuse. He can say, no, I don't want to get married, I want to remain Naishika Brahmachari. This is perfectly alright. It's perfectly alright. Otherwise, generally in Vedic system, if the son refuses the order of a father, he actually incurs sin. Okay.
When did they incur sin, sorry?
Huh?
When did they incur sin?
When they refuse the order of the father. But in Kali Yuga, it is not applicable because fathers are not qualified. In previous yugas, fathers used to be qualified. So when the order of the father is neglected, then the son actually incurs sin.
Yes, what? Incurs sin.
Okay, please read.
The phase of anger is the same whether exhibited due to ignorance or knowledge. Although Brahma tried to curb his anger, he could not do so, even though he is the Supreme Being. Such anger, in its true color, came from between the eyebrows of Brahma as Rudra, in a mixed color of blue, ignorance, and red, passion.